Buenos dias. Welcome to the Car and Bike Show on the NDTV network. I'm Siddharth Vinayak Partnkar. We're coming to you from the northern tip of Spain this week, and we've got a little preview, if you will, of the new Jaguar F-Type on the program. Lots more, of course, as always, packed into this half hour, and so we're going to begin by not talking about this car, but by quickly taking you into another big CNB exclusive. Now, there is another car that's expected to come in and sort of spice things up at the entry level of our luxury car market. That is the 1 Series from BMW. It arrives later on in the summer, but we've got it for you, first and exclusive. The BMW 1 Series was first introduced way back in 2004. That first generation car was essentially launched to offer a new entry model to the BMW family, as the 3 Series sedan was slowly transforming into a more luxurious and larger offering at a higher price point. The first Gen 1 Series was quite the instant hit, catching on as a popular buy in Europe and subsequently in the US. In 2011, we first got to see this car, the second generation, which was then launched worldwide in 2012. And it is this car that we will be getting when BMW brings in the 1 Series to India later this summer. Now, it is an ample looking hatch indeed, and in fact I think the design team was specifically going for something that looks, well, a little bit aggressive, a little bit in your face as far as the design goes. And so you've got this face up front which has an incongruously large kidney shaped grille and of course the massive headlights. All of that in keeping with what you're seeing across the BMW family right now, especially in the SUV space. You know, the X3, the new updated X1, they all have this sort of face up front. And in fact, this is part of the same family as the X1, the 1 Series, and same sort of look, therefore, is not surprising. I'm not sure everyone will like that because, well, it is a little bit disproportionate almost up front. But for those who do like it, it definitely delivers with quite a punch. Now, this particular car is kitted out with the urban trim, and there's different sort of trim lines you can get. We're still not clear what will come to India, and so I don't want to speculate too much on that. But what you do get is a front grille that's finished off in white. There's a little bit of a lip here in the spoiler in the same color, and the rear view mirrors are also white. And so overall, you can do a little bit more with this. Remember that with cars like the Fabia at one end and the Mini at the other end, there's lots that goes on now in terms of individualization. You might have people who might even want a white roof. All of that is now possible. Again, not sure what will come to India because the car will be assembled at the plant in Chennai, and so the options get a little bit limited by doing that. Now, as you come around to the back, that's where you start to see hints of the previous generation 1 Series, for those of you who are familiar with it, because, well, from a distance, it looks kind of exactly like that car, though this does have bigger tail lights. Again, that has to complement the face up front, right? So the thing about the car, though, is that whether it's the boot or whether it's the overall cabin, when you look at the car, it implies space. It is a pretty spacious car. It does have decent cargo room, and it's good that the design implies that, especially in a market like ours. And that's a good thing, isn't it? Because at the luxury end of the market, even as premium hatchbacks start to slowly gain acceptance in India, the buyer would still want it all. Equipment-wise, the car is typical BMW territory with the same kind of gadgets, features and layout as the X1. Of course, the indication we have is that in India, BMW may not offer the urban line and may offer a luxury line like that in the 3 Series along with a sport line. Though I wouldn't mind being surprised by the urban line, frankly. At the back, when compared to the B-Class, things do get pretty tight because let's not forget the B-Class is a bigger car, but that's not the reason for the comparison. Most buyers are, well, going to still consider the option of sitting at the back, aren't they? Push this seat all the way to the back and you can see there's really nothing here in terms of legroom. This one's all the way in the front, so a compromise of sorts could still work. It doesn't leave you with too much room, but if you are one of those who's going to have a driver driving and just you at the back, well, then you can push this seat in the front and then you're all right. But otherwise, it could get just a little bit cramped back here. There are rear AC vents though. So overall, the back angle and the seat's all right, but the sense of space, not so great. Now, cabin space-wise, the 1 Series sits somewhere in between the Mercedes-Benz A and B-Class hatches, and I wonder if that is the kind of positioning BMW will also adopt for it. but I do get the sense that it will be positioned closer to the B than the A. Alright, all that out of the way, let's drive the car now. Of course, this is going to be a pricey car, right? It's a BMW, and so it's not going to be a cheap little hatchback, that's for sure. And so there are certain expectations that you'll have. Luxury, on the one hand, is perhaps one of the highest expectations in our market, but for me, it's all about performance. And I'll tell you what, baby, this car is one of the most fun little cars to drive. It's just so direct, it's just so much fun, it's very sporty, it's where perhaps it redeems itself. Everything else that you might think of as a flaw in terms of its size, its comfort levels, its segment to begin with, all of that gets made up in plenty because it just drives like an absolute dream. It is a driver's car. I don't think I've had this much fun in quite some time, and yeah, nice twisty little roads. This is the car to have. Now the other thing is that in typical BMW style, what we can perhaps expect is that the car will be launched in automatic only. I hope that there is a bit of a change of heart there and we get this 6-speed manual, because I can tell you what, I've had so much fun with it today. It's almost a pity to waste this car on only an automatic option. So, well, not too much hope on that front, but if it happens, I shall be celebrating. The 1 Series also has optional variable sport steering, which allows for tighter handling and sharper turns with lesser driver input, and also offers 4-wheel drive and an active M suspension as options. But I don't expect all these options to be available in India, though the variable sport steering may be standard on the top end. The 118D is the car I had with me, and that is the variant I expect to definitely show up in India too. I did have my doubts initially on BMW offering a petrol variant at all for starters, though it does now seem that there will be not just one but 2 options on both diesel and petrol. So there may be lots of variants then to choose from, though all this may not happen from word go, and some variants could be introduced subsequent to the initial launch. The 118D in itself has specs that read handsomely, right? The 2-litre motor is one we know well, and it's not just the 143 bhp that impressed me, it's the massive 320 Nm of torque that blew me away. Of course, the 6-speed manual transmission, as I said, looks unlikely for India, so we will get the 8-speed Steptronic, just like in the X1. So now we come to the all-important question of price. Remember how BMW started the year by repositioning the X1 as a more luxurious and upmarket offering and took its entry pricing higher to above 28 lakh rupees. That leaves room in the lower 20s for the 1 Series variants to fit in. I do not expect a very stripped down base version, and so expect pricing to concentrate around 22 to 24 lakh rupees. Let's not forget that the Mini Countryman also starts here now, and BMW would like to keep some differentiation between the two brands, especially since the Mini Cooper hatches are still pricey, fully built imports. So do you like the 1 Series? Would you like to see it priced aggressively for India? Well, share your thoughts with us on facebook.com/CNB show or tweet us at Sid Patankar.
Alright, so you've got to react to the 1 Series. We will of course have more details in terms of trim levels and things like that for the Indian market in a few weeks from now. But overall, what do you think of that car, its positioning? You know how to get in touch with me. Now, this is another car that's going to be fresh and pretty hot when it drives into the Indian market. That happens in about a couple of months from now. But a little preview now, if you will, on everything that you want to know about the F-Type.
Jaguar has come a long way, from its heyday as a massively celebrated brand to almost running the risk of becoming totally irrelevant and nearly shutting down under Ford ownership. But today Jaguar is vibrant, it is forward-looking, and it is alive. And if its sedans and the XK family weren't proof enough,
this car certainly will do enough to establish the company's renewed vigor and strengths. The F-Type revives Jaguar's love affair with the classic two-seater European sports car. It is modern and classic all at once, and with it, the company has been able to once again get the attention of the auto aficionado.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
The F-Type is the most significant model from Jaguar in about 50 years. Now this, of course, draws on the very rich heritage of two-seater sports cars from the company's history. But what makes it significant is that it's also the most powerful Jaguar. It is all aluminium again, and it's also perhaps the company's most significant new launch under Tata stewardship. So that makes it one that's been watched very closely. Now, in terms of being a sports car, performance becomes very important, and so it has those credentials as well, if you will, because there are 3 engines on offer. There is the V6, which is a base at 340 horses. You got the V6S, which belts out 380 horses, and then the range topper is this car, the V8S, with 495 horsepower output, and so it's quite a little monster. Now, the car will be launched in India, though you only get the top 2 variants in India, and that's going to happen in July. So prices, well, you can expect them to be about 1.3 to 1.5 crore rupees, so it will not be cheap, and of course that's primarily due to the duty structure, which you're all familiar with. We will bring you much more on this gorgeous little car that holds the promise of not just exhilarating performance, but also one that may take the brand back into orbit. Now, it's a wonderful legacy and a great heritage that the F-Type drives in with. You've got some of those cars behind me over here, but I want to get a little bit more perspective on just how this car has evolved by introducing you to a special guest. We've got joining us right now on the program Mr. Julian Thompson, the Advanced Design Director at Jaguar Cars.
Yeah, good morning. Nice to see you.
Morning. Good to see you as well, and thank you for speaking to us today. So the F-Type, it's in the flesh now, and the whole world waited for it for quite some time.
Yeah.
Where did the idea begin as far as just looking at it on a blank sheet of paper was concerned?
It's obviously the car we've always wanted to do. I mean, it's you've only got to look behind at these fantastic cars behind you to know that the heritage and legacy of Jaguar is very much based around beautiful two-seat sports cars, front-engine sports cars. So it's always a car we had to do. It's always a car we wanted to do. We've had other priorities in the past, which have gone into business, and it's just everything myself and Ian Callum have just wanted to do these past years. So finally we've got the chance and it's out there, and it's been quite an intimidating task, as you can imagine, matching up to these cars, but I think we've achieved something truly special.
But that's just the thing, matching up to these cars. I mean, if you look into the history of Jaguar, you've got these design icons. I mean, you've got the 3 cars right here actually, which are really sort of significant in that sense, because they really draw on that one idea of being one with your machine, but yet expressing something out there on the road. How do you live up to that kind of a statement? Because it's not as if there's that one theme that carries through all these cars.
Yeah, I mean, you can't let yourself be intimidated by it. I mean, the thing is, you have a fantastic heritage like this, it can be your greatest asset, but it can also be your greatest anchor, if you like. It can hold you back if you're too worried about it and you're too worried about matching up to it. I think if you look at these cars individually, what you realize about them is they're very, very innovative, both in terms of design and technology. And I think that's what you've got to try and recreate. You've got to try and recreate that same energy that William Lyons did all those years ago, doing something really, really special, really, really beautiful. We love the company Jaguar, we love working for it, and just as William Lyons did, we want to do something which is really, really great and from the heart, and that's what I think we've created.
Now, the E-Type, of course, a design icon and a masterpiece in its own right, and admittedly, this is something that a lot of people across the world have always held true about that car. Now, there's certain sort of parts of that car's design which were very unlike what was going on at that time, and it brought a certain amount of popularity, if you will, to that form. The way the form rises just above the rear wheel arch, and of course the little fuselage on the side. Was it important to hold on to those elements?
There are certain elements of the car which, I mean, I think if you look at the 2 cars together, there are certain elements which we do try to put in every Jaguar. And so when we talk about Jaguar sports car, we're not necessarily just referencing this one. We're referencing the other cars as well. If you look at this car, I mean, what's so great about it? are these fantastic proportions, this long, long bonnet, which seems to be almost like 3/4 of the car, and then the shorter tail. And then this form, which is so simple, this wrap section here, which is almost like an aircraft, like a tube. Yeah. And it's very, very simple, very, very pure, but also very, very confident. It gives a car a real beauty and length. And then, you know, these strong lines, this shoulder line here, and then one at the back. Now, we have got those on the F-Type. You look at it. It has that same tube-like fuselage. It has the same strong lines through it. Like them, if you don't really, if it's not your thing, it doesn't matter.
Even with the sedans, we've seen that, you know, their design has been a big draw for a lot of buyers. I mean, you know, and that sort of helps them stand apart in what's otherwise fairly crowded premium car space. Where do you take that language from here on? I mean, I know you're not going to give me specifics, but what's the kind of direction we can expect from the brand?
I think our cars will always, you know, as all of these cars are, they will always be beautifully proportioned. They'll always have a sense of confidence and purity, and they should always be beautiful looking cars. Whichever segment we move into, whichever cars we compete against, our cars will always be the most beautiful and the best to drive, and that's really, in very sort of simplistic terms, where we'd like to be.
One last point which I have to ask you, I asked Ian this as well, so when you look at the car now, you know, it's out there, it's on the road, what's your most favorite feature, if I can ask you to be partial to just one thing?
I have to say that the rear end of the car, and Ian will say the same thing, it's probably its most distinctive feature. It's very, very elegant. I think when you see this car on the street, driving around, people will just fall in love with that because it looks so beautiful. It's got such a purposeful stance. It looks very, very emotional, very much alive. It really sums up, you know, what Jag is all about.
And it's very distinct. So
absolutely, yeah.
It has a good recognition value too.
Yeah, I hope so, yeah.
But this is great, and many congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you very much.
We can't wait to see what else you have in store for us.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff, don't worry.
I'm glad to hear it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
So it was great chatting with Julian there, and the one thing he of course wouldn't tell us officially is whether or not the company plans to do a coupe version of this car. But you know what, all logic points in that direction. The concept was a coupe, remember, and that's the way the sports car market works, isn't it? So sooner than later we will probably hear something from Jaguar on that. Now let's slip into a short break here on CNB. We got plenty more. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. We are bringing you a bit of a preview of the very hot Jaguar F-Type on the program this week. You also saw the 1 Series from BMW at the top of the program. And now we're going to shift focus completely away from all these fancy cars, and we're going to talk a little bit about bikes with a lot of heritage as well. That's Royal Enfield. And for the first time in the company's history, it is going big. Huge capacity expansion, a brand new facility as well, just outside of Chennai. Bala spent some time with the management and also brings you a glimpse of that new plant.
It's really no secret that Royal Enfield's 60-year-old plant in Tiruvallur has been overburdened with limited capacity and surging demand. But all that is set to change with this new plant at Oragadam up and running, and with an annual capacity of 150,000 in phase 1 in 2013, and phase 2 goes up to 250,000, that's by 2014. Which basically means if you booked your Enfield and have been eagerly and patiently waiting to take delivery of one, your wait might just end soon. Royal Enfield's 2 plants in Oragadam and Tiruvallur now take the total annual capacity to 1,75,000 bikes this year. This is essentially possible thanks to the higher level of automation in this new plant, for which the company has invested 150 crore rupees. Modernization also includes robotics, which means the hand spray painted bikes have paved way for the robotic painting and powder coating system, which is certainly a lot more high-tech. The new plant will work in 2 shifts, producing over 800 bikes every day. The company has grown over 50% for each of the past 2 years. So what we are saying is, don't get your hopes up too high on quicker delivery, since the demand for Royal Enfield bikes is also going one way, up. We tried pinning down the senior management on this point too.
Currently, if you're booking a bike, you're probably going to be, waiting, depending on the region, depending on the bike, 6 to 8 months, maybe even 12 months sometimes. But hopefully the position will improve by the end of this year.
So when you say the position will improve, can I get a number in terms of average, how much would a waiting period would come down by?
It's impossible for me to tell you because the demand is growing so fast that it's, it could be even, the waiting could even change. It could even become worse by the end of this year. But I don't know. So if the demand continues to rise the way it is, that's something which is difficult for us to predict. The supply, I'm pretty sure we're going to make, 1,75,000 this year, which is an enormous jump.
Capacity at this new plant will be scaled up to 2,50,000 units in 2014, with the provision to go to peak capacity of 5 lakh bikes per year in the midterm. Royal Enfield currently exports to 40 countries, but that's still just 3% of its annual production. It now wants to focus on growing its global reach further. So we should expect some more export-focused product development soon. Having said that, besides the Continental GT launch this year, Royal Enfield is not revealing its future product plans. But we do expect to see a totally new concept from the bike maker at next year's Auto Expo in Delhi.
We will have all the details on the Jaguar F-Type, the variants, the trims, the various engines as well. All of that will be on the program very soon, so something for you to look forward to. Now, I started the show today with something very British, this car, and we're going to end on that note as well, but we're talking about a car that used to belong to Winston Churchill. Just a little snippet that we thought you might find entertaining. And on that note, it is goodbye. Please wear your seat belts. Please wear your helmets if you're on a two-wheeler. And I will see you next week on the program. Bye-bye.
Election campaigning, even in the 1940s, meant hitting the road to meet the public. And it had to be a special ride for Britain's then Prime Minister Winston Churchill. A silver and black 1939 Daimler DB18 drophead coupe ferried Churchill during his campaigns, and this vintage is the only one of its kind that's left. This 1939 model, restored ironically by a German car dealer, has now been sold on eBay for a whopping €470,000 to an undisclosed British customer. One of the most advanced cars of its time, the Daimler DB18 drophead coupe has a 2.5-litre engine under the hood, the ability to do 0 to 60 miles per hour in 17.9 seconds and a top speed of 76 miles per hour. Wow, that's pretty quick for an old-timer, and we sure are glad that this vintage has got a new lease of life, although at quite a price, one might say.